everyone, back to today's second video. Going to do Ensembles Watch for today's second video. So we're going to go through all the GFS Ensemble members, all 20 plus of them, see what they're all showing for the next couple of weeks, through the middle and into the second half of January. And we're going to see whether there's any sign of northern blocking and colder weather. So, of course, we have the southern stratospheric warming that occurred over Christmas and up to New Year. We're now waiting to see what, if any, tropospheric response. We're going to get to this via sort of northern blocking. And so that's what we're doing for this second video update today. The first video update was the GFS Weather Sunny Roundup. So we have brought back the Sunny Roundup for the first time since the end of the summer. And it will be a regular feature at GFS Weather every Sunday between now and the end of August. So it's the usually eclectic mix of this and that. We're looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature anomalies, ENSO, Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, QBO, all of that kind of thing that we throw into the Sunny Roundup and do something a little bit different for the Sunny video. But it does include a look at weather next week, same days as well. So that video is on the homepage at GFS, so let's have a look at that and see what is going on. So we're at metroseal.fr for Ensembles Watch tonight. Unfortunately, the GFS Ensembles haven't updated correctly at West Central for some reason today. So half the charts seem to still be showing yesterday's Saturday evening's update. So I had to go to Metroseal. There was always an alternative, and the link to metroseal.fr is in the links in the description at YouTube and on the links page at GAVS WeatherVids. So we're going to start off with the operational GFS run to set the scene for what that's shown. Then we'll go through all the GFS Ensemble members, and we'll finish up with the GFS Parallel run. But beginning with the operational GFS, this is what we see right now. The current pattern is that we have high pressure sitting over a little bit to the south of the country, and we're bringing a slightly milder westerly wind from off the Atlantic. That takes us up to Tuesday and Wednesday. We get a little bit of a northerly cold snap. That doesn't last very long. The high pressure very quickly builds back in and gives us mostly dry weather, but with frosty conditions as well. Running into next weekend and beyond that into the following week, we find that the high pressure gradually starts to slink off down to the south. So slowly but surely we erode this high pressure. This is the 14th of January. We're eroding this high pressure from the Atlantic and starting to weaken it down. Still quite an influence up to the 14th, but it is getting weaker all the time. So now we're up to the 15th of January. And it is turning more unsettled now. Low pressure is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Up to the 17th, turning a little bit stormier there. So big change around the middle part of the month. The high pressure has been dominating pretty much since Christmas. Finally, by middle of January, finally starts to push off and go back down into the middle of the Atlantic. And that turns things much more unsettled. Eventually starts to turn quite a lot colder on the operational midday run of the GFS as well. We start to get this mid-Atlantic ridge going. So this isn't northern blocking, but we have got a mid-Atlantic ridge, area of high pressure in mid-Atlantic, and it's trying to get itself up to Greenland as well. As I say, it's not northern blocking, but it's enough anyway to be forcing wind into the north. We have a bitterly cold northerly wind there as we finish up on the 22nd of January. That will bring snow showers to northern and eastern parts of the country in particular. I'm not sure it will last all that long. So I say it's not genuine northern blocking, although I suppose it could evolve further on that area of high pressure and possibly develop into a northern blocking feature. But certainly the operational GFS run does finish up on the 22nd of January as far as we can go on a pretty cold note, I have to say. So let's see how that compares then to all the other GFS ensemble. We're going to start off with the control run of the GFS ensemble. So this run is at a slightly lower resolution compared to the Operation and Parallel runs, but it's at a higher resolution compared to all other GFS ensemble members. So it's kind of like somewhere in the middle between the Operation Parallels and the other GFS ensemble members. This is how we look on the 14th of January. Again, you see things are turning a little bit more unsettled. That high pressure starting to slip away to the south. We're beginning to open the door to these westerly winds coming in from off the Atlantic, but it goes rather stormy as we go into the middle part of January and on into the second half of the month. We're running up towards the 22nd of January now, keeping things unsettled and keeping things pretty westerly with those winds as well. Although a ridge is building over Scandinavia, looks fairly weak and flimsy up to that point. Winds are basically in from the west, but quite cool air is actually digging in from northern parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Ensemble member number 1 looks like that on the 14th of January, with high pressure down to the southwest of the country, low pressure moving in from off the Atlantic. So again, much more unsettled around or just after the middle part of the month. Then we pull down a cold and northerly wind there on the 22nd to the 21st of January. And that's how we finish up on the 22nd. And we're looking rather unsettled. Deep area of low pressure to the east of Scotland, high pressure out in the Atlantic, and cold air is beginning to move in from the north with ensemble member number 1. No northern blocking though with ensemble member number 1. Ensemble member number 2 has high pressure still just about holding on across excuse me, holding on across some parts of England and Wales on the 14th of January. But northern parts of the country look a good deal more unsettled already. Bit of a northerly cold snap there on the 16th of January before high pressure ridges back in, and we go very unsettled around the 20th as that area of low pressure dives southwards across the UK. That's how we finish up on the 22nd with ensemble member number 2. It looks quite interesting actually, with building high pressure over Scandinavia, and we're getting this ridge building in the middle of the Atlantic as well. So as these low pressures are forced southwards and eastwards into the continent, you would expect things to be turning quite a lot colder there by the 22nd of January with ensemble member number 2. Ensemble member number 3 is looking like this. High pressure is out to the west-southwest of the country. Low pressure is up to the north on the 14th of January. We go through into middle part of the month, and high pressure remains very close to us, trying to reach northwards there, you'll notice, on the 17th to the 18th, but not quite making it. So we keep things pretty flat up to the end of the run, which takes the 22nd of January. It's starting to turn cold though. Low pressure begins to dive down the North Sea. Winds are beginning to pull into the north as this ridge, again, mid-Atlantic ridge, is building to the west of us. So that finishes up turning things colder. Ensemble member number 3. Ensemble member number 4 has low pressure already pushing that high pressure back into the Atlantic on the 14th of January, looking much more unsettled. But then the 17th sees that high pressure building back in. So, again, the high pressure is fighting back there around the 17th. Up to the 20th, again, lots of high pressure influences. That's how we finish up on the 22nd. So we're somewhere between settled and unsettled there. No northern blocking signal, but a little bit cooler. Not particularly cold, however. That's kind of like in between that one, number 4. It's not particularly cold. It's not particularly mild either. Ensemble member number 5 shows unsettled conditions across the UK as we're going into the middle part of January. The second half of the month keeps things pretty flat, pretty westerly, so no cold weather with that one, just low pressure churning away in the Atlantic, bringing quite a lot of strong westerly winds with ensemble member number 5. That's a milder one. Ensemble member number 6 has low pressure already, excuse me, already quite dominant around the middle part of January. We keep these areas of low pressure driving in from off the Atlantic as well. No particular cold weather with ensemble member number 6. Just keep things pretty flat and pretty westerly with that one. Certainly no sign of any northern blocking up to the 22nd of January with ensemble member number 6. Ensemble member number 7 with high pressure down to southwest, low pressure to the north, and turning quite stormy here into the second half of January. Deep areas of low pressure continuing to be churning away. That's how we finish up. The low pressure is exiting away to the east, and we are trying to build up a little bit of a ridge in the middle of the Atlantic. But again, no real northern blocking signal there. Ensemble member number 7. Ensemble member number 8 again has low pressure already quite dominant by the 14th of January, so quite unsettled even into the middle part of the month. Get low pressure diving southeastwards with this one, ensemble member number 8, and it does turn cold. We start pulling some colder east or northeasterly winds there, but only temporarily, and then the Atlantic comes steamrollering back in. So that's how it finished up again on the 22nd of January. Westerly, quite chilly northwesterlies, but again, no real northern blocking signal there. Ensemble member number 8. Ensemble member number 9 has high pressure to our south, low pressure is to the north on the 14th of January. And what this one is doing is that it's building up a bit of mid-Atlantic ridge again, somewhere around the 18th or the 19th, around the 21st, I should say. And it eventually pulls down the wind from the north. So again, we have got a northerly shot there on the 22nd of January, in line with what the operational GFS is showing. No northern blocking, it's not northern blocking, but it is a mid-Atlantic ridge. It does allow the wind to turn into the north. That's a cold snap. I think very quickly the Atlantic westerlies would return. Ensemble member number 10 with low pressure to the northwest of the country on the 14th of January, and we keep things pretty unsettled really as we're going into the second half of the month. Again, that's how we finish up, so it looks very unsettled. Low pressure is dominant to the north of the UK, the winds are in from the west. There's absolutely no sign of any northern blocking whatsoever, no tropospheric response seemingly to that southern stratospheric warming with ensemble member number 10 up to 22nd of January. Ensemble member number 11 with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north on the 14th of January, and we keep these areas of low pressure churning away in the Atlantic as we go to the end of that ensemble member on the 22nd of January. Still very westerly with ensemble member number 11. These are very, very disappointing ensembles. Anybody that wants cold weather and blocking, I have to say, very, very disappointing ensembles so far. This ensemble member number 12, again, low pressure is moving in from off the Atlantic. This one's a cold one. That low pressure around the 18th, 19th dies southwards, and so we pull down a colder north or northeasterly, bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge. Very quickly, though, even by the 22nd of January, we're beginning to roll the westerlies back in over the top once again. So without northern blocking, you see what happens without northern blocking. There is nothing to support cold and northerly winds. So that's just a cold snap. It would probably produce snow and pretty cold temperatures with those east to northeasterly winds there around the 21st of January. But because there's no northern blocking, we just very quickly roll the Atlantic back in over the top of that area of high pressure. This is ensemble member number 13 with high pressure again to the south, low pressure to the north and the west. Quite stormy as we're running up to the middle of the month and then beyond the middle part of the month. Now, this one looks a little bit more interesting. So this one's starting to build some proper high pressure around Iceland and also towards Greenland. It's quite weak high pressure, but we certainly haven't seen that in any other ensemble member, really. Any ridging that has taken place tend to be generated from the middle of the Atlantic northwards, whereas this is generating the high pressure from kind of like the North Atlantic southwards, if you see what I mean. So that's a little bit more genuine with the blocking signal. It does finish up really quite cold, bring the wind in from an easterly direction. So that's the most interesting one from a cold perspective that we've seen so far, with just hints of a little bit of northern blocking on that one. This is ensemble member number 14. It has low pressure moving in on the 14th of January, looking quite unsettled. That turns the winds into the north temporarily. Then we get this build of pressure trying to get itself up to Scandinavia there, just a little bit after day 10. We're trying to generate an area of high pressure over the UK and in Scandinavia, but it doesn't come to anything because low pressure churning away in the North Atlantic, and we just keep the wind in from west, pretty flat and relatively mild up to the 22nd of January with ensemble member number 14. Ensemble member number 15 looks like this. Again, high pressure just about clinging on to the southern part of the country on the 14th of January. And actually this one keeps high pressure influences pretty much close to the country up to day 10 anyway, but then we do go off into a more unsettled spell, finishing up very unsettled on the 22nd of January with this deep area of low pressure over the top of the UK, bringing wet and windy weather up to the 22nd of January. Ensemble member number 16 with high pressure to the southwest, 14th of January, and then we go into an unsettled, quite stormy spell of weather there around the 17th and the 18th of January, and starting to turn colder at the end as well. This is another one that's generating a mid-Atlantic ridge. It's not northern blocking, The ridge is being generated from the middle of the Atlantic northwards. But it's enough to pull the wind into the north, probably temporarily, but it does turn a lot colder there on the 22nd of January, and you would expect snow in northern and eastern parts of the country. Ensemble member number 17, again, pushes that area of high pressure to our southwest quite quickly around the 14th of January. And then it looks like we're going into rather an unsettled and cold spell of weather after the middle part of the month into the second part of the month. Quite unsettled, quite cold. Probably the chance of something a little bit wintry as that area of low pressure dies down the North Sea and finishes up to the south of the UK. But nothing supported by northern blocking, so very quickly we bring the westerlies back through, so it finishes up on a milder note, wet and windy, with ensemble member number 17. Ensemble member number 18, we're getting towards the end now, looks very unsettled with these westerly winds churning away, quite stormy there around the 17th, 18th of January. Again, this is another one that's generating a mid-Atlantic ridge, so some ridging to the west of the UK pulls those winds into the north. It does finish up on potentially quite a cold and fairly wintry note as that low pressure is diving southwards. But again, see what's happening around Greenland and Canada over here. So all this purple here is indicating that the jet stream is still very strong. There's still low pressure around Greenland and Canada. And so what would happen inevitably is that this ridge in the middle of the Atlantic has allowed cold air to push down from north. That ridge would really quickly be flattened off. The westerlies would return probably within around 24 to 48 hours. We would be back into a mild westerly flow. Ensemble member number 19, again with high pressure just holding on by its fingertips on the 14th of January. Then stormy around the 17th, 18th. That's showing up quite a lot on these ensemble members. A spell of severe gales around the 17th or the 18th of January before something potentially colder takes place afterwards around the 20th, 21st, 22nd. A lot of them are ending up on a colder note, albeit not from northern blocking, but from a mid-Atlantic ridge that allows cold air to push down temporarily from the north. And ensemble member number 19 goes for that as well. Finally, we've got ensemble member number 20, looking like that. High pressure being pushed down to the south of the country around the 14th of January. And then go through to the end of ensemble member number 20. We just keep high pressure quite close to us with this, so this is a more settled one. A little bit of an outlier with this high pressure remaining somewhere around northern Spain, Bay of Biscay, that kind of area. So winds continue to come from an Atlantic direction. It does have a go at pulling down some slightly colder air from the north there at the end of the ensemble run, but that looks a little bit flimsy, to be honest. Looks quite a weak northerly. So overall, very disappointing, I think, from a cold and blocking perspective. For anyone that wants colder and block conditions, these are quite disappointing ensembles indeed. There's very little sign, or no sign actually, of genuine northern blocking up to the 22nd of January. Most of them are going for some sort of cold snap around the 20th, 21st from a mid-Atlantic ridge. Maybe that's how the colder weather will kick off with the mid-Atlantic ridge, and then things will develop from there. But of course, that's speculative. There's no sign really, except for that one ensemble member number 13. There's no real sign of what you would call proper northern blocking on any of those ensemble members. Finally, we just have a look at the parallel run. So this is how the parallel run is looking. Remember, this will become the operational GFS run when we get through to the latter part of the year. I'm not sure when it happens. I think it'll be somewhere around the early summer usually when the parallel run becomes the operational run. That's how things look on the 15th of January. Westerly winds across the UK, quite unsettled, quite stormy conditions there. Again, that's something that is showing up in model output. A storm giving severe gales somewhere around the 17th or 18th of January. Put that in your diary. Around 17th, 18th of January, a real storm churning away on a lot of these GFS ensemble members. That low pressure clears away. Another run, the parallel that's generating this mid-Atlantic ridge around the 20th, turning wind into the north. So that is like a cold snap, definitely. And this was actually getting the high pressure ridging to Scandinavia. So that's how we finish up on the 22nd of January. We are pulling in really quite a cold easterly wind there. Haven't seen much sign of Scandinavian highs on the on Ensemble Watch tonight, but that is one that is developing a Scandinavian high and pulling wind in from the east, although the Northern Atlantic around Greenland looks very active. So how long that would last for, that Scandinavian high, how long it would manage to stay there over Scandinavia before those westerlies flattened it off, I'm not sure. But the air to our east does look very cold. We can actually see the upper air temperatures, see how cold those upper air temperatures are at the end of the parallel run. And that's what's happening there at the very end. So we are bringing in sort of -12 upper air temperatures from central parts of Europe with those easterly winds. So certainly that's enough to generate bitterly cold temperatures and snow from the east. So the parallel GFS run does actually finish up on a very wintry note, to say the least, with those easterly winds, although not particularly well supported by the other GFS ensemble members. But nevertheless, that one does finish up a lot cold with those easy winds. As I say, how long that Scandinavian high could keep itself going for before these westerlies return, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's how all the ensemble members are looking. This finally is how the graph is looking for London. And again, we see that basically turning more unsettled. So you can see it starts off with a very dry trend for around the next week, but gradually around 13th, 14th, 15th of January, getting more precipitation spikes coming through, turning much more unsettled then in the second half of the month. Temperature-wise, very little sign of anything genuinely cold. By genuinely cold, I'm talking about going down to -10 at 850 HPA, but I think we do have a cooling trend here in the second half of the month. Most of these ensemble members are dipping below the 30-year temperature average, which is this thick red line. So most of these ensemble members are turning colder around that period of 19th, 20th, 21st of January. But remember, most of them are doing it from a mid-Atlantic ridge, a mid-Atlantic high, rather than from a genuine northern blocking, locked into cold pattern. So it's looking like it's going to turn more unsettled. That's probably the big story out of all of this, actually, over the next week. We're going to keep high pressure very close to us, but in around a week's time, we'll start to erode that high pressure away to the southwest, turning more unsettled around the middle part of the month into the second half of the month. Potentially turning quite wet and windy. Could be a storm sometime around the 17th or 18th of January. Might get some severe gales. And then after that, pretty decent evidence for a cold snap with a mid-Atlantic ridge, but very little evidence that we set up a genuine blocking pattern. Of course, that's what we're looking for after the sudden stratospheric warming, and we shall keep looking as well. Right, so that's it for today's videos. We'll be back tomorrow with your week to 10-day video updates. Come back for that then. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.